Hello and welcome to Nana's Crafty Home. My name is Tanya. Today's tutorial is going to show you how to crochet this checkered pumpkin that you can find as a free pattern on my website. And this is so easy and quick, made with bulky yarn. So many different variations on this pumpkin. Here I've made it in just a solid color, added some pearl button embellishments to create this little bejeweled pumpkin as well. But I'm going to be showing you how to do this with the color changes. If you wanted to, you could also just make it in a solid color as well. Let's go ahead and get started. So to begin, you're going to want to leave a nice long tail so that you can sew the bottom of your pumpkin together. And then we're going to go ahead and get our yarn on our hook here. My pumpkin calls for 63 chains to start out with. I am going to be making my pumpkin here for the video just a little bit smaller, but you can easily resize your pumpkin to a smaller size just by adjusting your foundation chain by multiples of 3. So once you have your chain of 63, you're going to single crochet in the first chain that you made. You're creating a ring basically. So being careful not to twist your chain, you're going to go ahead and single crochet in that first chain. Single crochet in the next chain. And then double crochet in the next. And so what I'm doing here is I'm creating some lift because I'm going to be working in rounds without joining, no seam on this pumpkin. So I need to get some lift in order to come through here and not have to join at the end of each round. So now I'm going to change colors to my second contrasting color here. So I don't want to completely finish that double crochet, leaving those last 2 loops on my hook. And I'm going to bring in my new color and pull that through to change. Now I'm just going to be dropping colors. So I dropped my cream, now working with the gold. Okay, so I'm going to be working a linked double crochet with the gold, 1 linked double crochet in each of the next 3 chains. You work a linked double crochet by inserting your hook into the horizontal bar from the stitch that you just worked. Now this is a double crochet, not a linked double crochet, but I'm going to be inserting my hook from the top through that horizontal bar in the front of your stitch, yarning over and pulling up a loop. Then I'm going to be inserting my hook into that next chain, working over that dropped yarn, yarning over and pulling up a loop. 3 loops on my hook, and I'm going to complete this double crochet in the same way I would all double crochet stitches. Yarning over, pulling through 2, and yarning over and pulling through 2, and I've made my first linked double crochet. That horizontal bar is going to be much more pronounced in your linked double crochet than that first double crochet that you made. So you can see this bar here. So inserting your hook from the top through that loop, yarning over, pulling up a loop, leaving those 2 loops on your hook, inserting your hook into that next chain, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2. Insert your hook into that horizontal bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert your hook into that next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So I've worked 3 linked double crochets in the gold. I want to move on to my cream, so I'm going to drop my gold, pull my cream back into my work by yarning over and pulling through those last 2 loops to complete that linked double crochet. And I'm just going to be repeating those same steps all the way around, working 3 stitches in each color. So inserting your hook into that horizontal bar. Next chain, complete your stitch, link double crochet in the next, linked double crochet in the next. This is my third, so I won't complete, drop, pull in my gold to complete that third linked double crochet. And I'm just going to be repeating those same steps all the way around to the end. So I've gotten to the end of that round, and you can see here's that first single crochet, my next single crochet, and then my double crochet all done in the cream from the beginning. I have my gold, and I'm ready to work my next 3 stitches. I'm not going to slip stitch join, I'm just going to be continuing to work in rounds, and I'm able to do that because I gave these stitches some lift, and you'll see how that looks in just a second here. So I'm going to work 3 linked double crochets in the next 3 stitches. And then change colors. And you're just going to continue working linked double crochets, 3 in each color, and you know you're on the right track if you're working your stitches over the contrasting color. So I'm with the cream, I'm working my cream stitches over my gold stitches, I'll be working my gold stitches over my cream stitches. And you're just going to continue that on around. There's no need for you to slip stitch join. You're just going to be working and continuing rounds. So you're going to continue that for 14 rounds for your pumpkin. So once you've worked your 14 rounds, at the end, you're going to go ahead and on your last 3 stitches, work a half double crochet, a single crochet, and then a slip stitch in the last stitch before you fasten off. So once you've completed the 14 rounds for your pumpkin, you're going to fasten off, and you're going to need to leave a really long length of yarn. That is going to sew the top of your pumpkin shut, as well as create the pumpkin ridges around the outside edge. So you're going to need quite a bit of yarn at the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to crochet your pumpkin center, which is completely optional. You could use a stick that you've cut down to the size that you want. You could use a cinnamon stick, whatever your preference is, but I wanted to show you how to make your own crocheted one. So we're going to start with the magic circle, and I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to work 6 single crochets in that magic circle. If you don't want to work a magic circle, you could chain 4, slip stitch to the first chain, and then work 6 single crochets into the center of that circle. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to pull that tightly, and this is the top of the stem, and now I'm going to just be working in rounds, 1 single crochet in each stitch, and you're going to just continue doing that for 7 rounds. So 1 single crochet in every stitch. There's no real need to mark the first stitch if you don't want to. We're not slip stitch joining, we're working in continuous rounds, but you're just going to work a total of 7 rounds for your pumpkin stem. Alright, so I've worked 7 rounds for my stem, and I'm going to go ahead and fasten off. I'm not going to worry about weaving in these ends. I'm going to just tuck that one from the beginning into the stem. I'm not going to stuff the stem with polyfill or anything. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And then this will just get tucked down into the pumpkin when I sew the stem in place. So there's no need to do anything with that end. And we're just going to set that aside to when we're ready to insert it into the pumpkin. And it'll get inserted into the pumpkin as I close the top. And I'm going to go ahead and sew the bottom of my pumpkin closed with that long length of yarn from the beginning. So we're just going to get our long length of yarn on our needle here. And we're basically going to be just working a gathering stitch. I'm going to be running my yarn through these unused loops from my foundation chain. And you don't have to pick up every single loop. You can just insert your hook into, maybe skip a one, and then skip another one, and pull through. And you're going to be gathering the bottom together as we run our needle and our yarn through these unused loops. And you can see it's gathering the bottom together. So just continue working around the bottom in those unused loops, gathering the bottom of your pumpkin together. Then once you've worked your gathering stitch all the way around the outside bottom edge, at the end you're just going to pull it as tightly as you can to close the hole in the center here. So just pull that tightly and then go ahead and knot your yarn. Once you've pulled it tight, knot it. And so now you can't pull that apart after knotting it. You can see I still have a gap in the bottom here, so I'm just going to sew it closed. And once I'm satisfied with that, I can go ahead and weave in this end, and then we're ready to stuff our pumpkin. I'm going to fill my pumpkin to my desired plumpness. So feel free to just really stuff it. And you don't have to worry, because with this linked double crochet, you're not going to have stuffing poking through your stitches. And you can always leave some room for additional stuffing before you completely close your pumpkin. You could actually put a little bit more in there if you wanted it a little plumper. So just fill it to where you're comfortable working with the top. So I'm now ready to close the top of my pumpkin. I'm going to get that long length of yarn that I left to sew the top onto my needle, and for your needle you're going to want to use a really blunt tapestry needle, because if it's sharp you're going to poke yourself doing these ridges on your pumpkin. But now we're going to basically do the same thing that we did on the bottom. Of course, I have the top 2 loops of each stitch. There's no need to go under both. If you want to just go under one, but use the same technique to gather the top. I'm going to skip over stitches and pull my needle through. This is where it's going to be kind of not fun, because you're going to have to pull through a lot of yarn. But just go slow and continue gathering as you're working through the top of your pumpkin. So just continue that on around, gathering the top together. Okay, so I've worked my gathering stitch all the way around the outside top of the pumpkin. And this is the point where if you want to stuff it a little more, you can put more stuffing in there before you completely close the top. So once it's as full as you want, you're going to gather it together, pull it tightly. Before you completely close it, we're going to leave this gap and add our stem. But before we add the stem, I want to just knot the yarn after I've pulled it to where I want it, and just knot it so it can't get pulled out at this point. So my yarn is knotted. I can't pull it apart anymore. Now I'm going to add my stem. I'm going to shove that in the hole there. I'm going to stick that end in there too so it doesn't show. And I'm going to secure that stem into place by sewing the pumpkin top together. So I'm working that stitch through the stem to secure it in place. And you're going to want to put several stitches through the stem to secure it. And make sure there's no gaps left at the top of your pumpkin. Okay, so I am satisfied with how secure my stem is. The top of my pumpkin is closed. Now I'm ready to create the ridges along the outside edges of my pumpkin. And I still have my yarn on my needle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out inserting my needle into the very top of the pumpkin and then pushing it through to the bottom. And this is why I told you a blunt needle, because you're going to be feeling, it probably would be easier if I had a longer needle than what I have here, because it's going to be difficult to push that through. But I've caught it now. You can see it's pushing through the bottom. I'm just going to grab it and pull the yarn through the center of your pumpkin. Okay. And now you're going to go ahead and run your needle again through the top of your pumpkin. So your yarn is going to be on the outside edge. So I pulled it through the bottom, and I'm going to come along the edge and I'm going to insert my needle again through the center of the pumpkin. Okay, and then pull your yarn through the top. And pull tightly. And see, that creates a ridge. Now I'm going to basically space these evenly around the outside edge, just using the same technique. So I'm going to split it in two. I'm going to go along the other side, and you can see here's my first one. Now I'm on the other side, and I'm going to insert my needle through the top on the other side of the pumpkin. Pull it through, and then this is when you're going to want to adjust the yarn where it is on the outside. So I want it kind of evenly spaced, and then tighten again. I'm going to split it again. So I'm going to come up on this side and down through the center. Pull through. Adjust it where you want it. And tighten. And just continue doing that. However many you want, I will typically do 8 with mine. If you wanted to, you could do 6 instead, but I like the look of 8, especially for these bigger pumpkins. You can still continue to kind of adjust your yarn on the outside edge as you want, and then continue working your long stitches. Okay, so I've worked my 8 long stitches around the outside edge of my pumpkin. You're going to knot that off before you weave in that end. So tighten it. Knot it, and now these edges can't be pulled out and won't pull your end out. So now you can go ahead and weave that final end in. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. Thanks so much for being with me. As always, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a new video. Thanks everyone. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.